Hey guys, it's Ness here at Cake Style. Today's recipe is something a little bit different. I'm sure a bunch of you have been seeing some amazing cookie cakes out there, and I thought I would try and make one for myself, but with mine, I'm going to be making it a super cute cactus. Alright, so we've got to make ourselves some cookie dough. I've got a recipe here for you. It's just a regular sugar cookie recipe, one that I have seen around for decades. It's nothing too fancy. What I have done is got all my dry ingredients together and just sifted those. And then I'm going to work on the wet ingredients. And for those, you're going to need some butter as well as some sugar. And we're just going to cream that for about 2 minutes or so, and then we can pop in 1 egg as well as some vanilla bean paste. Now this is optional, but it just has such an amazing flavor, and it's really worth going for something a little bit more expensive with your vanilla. I go ahead and pop in all of my dry ingredients pretty much in one go. I kind of let it sort of start to swirl around a little bit and then keep adding a cup at a time. But you really just want to work to get that all in there. And then you're going to place that in some Glad wrap and pop it into the fridge only for about 30 minutes because we do need to be able to roll this out pretty easily to create our amazing cactus. Now, I just kind of freehand drew this and then blew it up with my printer just to sort of get it a little bit larger. So it's probably about, say, 30 odd centimeters long or just under. The main thing to remember is to make sure that you don't do anything where there's a section that is super wide and thick, because otherwise it won't cook through. I'm not using any extra flour. I've just got 2 sheets of parchment paper and a rolling pin. And you want to roll this out basically to a regular thickness that you do with all cookies. There's nothing super special about this at all. It's just doing, instead of a cookie cutter, we're going to be using this template. Now I love using a pizza cutter for the long parts, and then just a small sort of paring knife just to get into all those curves. If you find at this point that it's moving around on you and that the cookie dough is kind of wanting to squish at all, go ahead and pop this whole thing into the fridge for about 10 minutes. You want to do this twice. Remember, we've got to have 2 cookies by the time we're done. I'm punching some holes with a fork and then placing them onto a baking tray. I've preheated my oven up. These took about 14 to sort of 16 minutes. Now while those are cooling, I'm going to get started on our gorgeous flowers. So I have listed in the description all the piping tips that you're going to need and the colors. I want to start with like a large grass tip and just create a really big tall center for these flowers. Then I'm taking my trusty petal tip. This one is a 125, or you can use a 406, both Wilton, and they're just a large petal tip. I love doing roses in just a really simple closed up way like this. They look quite delicate, but they are pretty big. And so you want to make sure that you have a decent sized flower nail underneath as well. I'm going for some beautiful shades of, we've got purples, we've got orange, I've got a pink as well. And if you want to watch this in any more detail, I have lots and lots of other flower videos where I sort of break it down. But it's sort of like a windscreen kind of motion that you're going for. Piping the center is super easy, and then you're kind of just working from right to left if you're a lefty like I am, or for everybody else, you start on the left and go towards the right. And it's almost like little rainbows. You're just creating little arcs as you go around. I now pop these into the fridge for about 15 minutes to set, and I'm getting started with my cookie. Now, this is how I hold a piping bag. I flatten it out and then I wrap it around my index finger. I find that this provides lots and lots of good pressure for me. You can do the twist method as well, however you feel comfortable. But I have put on a 4B star tip onto this. It's a large star tip that's quite ribbed. And I'm just using a shell pattern to create a border going around so that you see all these little puffy things along the side. So squeeze and then release your pressure and just pull that away. And do this all the way around the cake. You kind of want to aim so that you can see it all around the edge nicely. And then you're just going to fill in all the rest of the cookie because we don't want any part of this cookie that doesn't have double layer of frosting. Now be super careful not to tweak your cookie at all when you add it on. I had a tiny little crack in there, unfortunately. So you just want to be really, really gentle. And then the only difference on top, it's the same tip, but we're just doing great big long lines. And this is gonna sort of simulate what a cactus is. And it's just gonna create this beautiful sort of ribbed effect going down and on little cactus arms as well. Once you've got that on, I have got a little bit paler green and I'm using a 21 star tip. So that's a fairly sort of medium to small star tip. And I just want to create some lines over the top. It gives definition, it gives some variety in color, and it just really finishes off this cactus and just gives it some depth. Now I'm going to create some little adorable stars in just my natural buttercream color. It's just a creamy shade and it's a 16 tip, which is an even smaller star tip. And this is so cute for creating little dollops. Now, sometimes it's not going to want to attach. It happens to all of us. Sometimes buttercream just doesn't want to stick to itself, but you just want to go ahead and create all of these little spikes all over the whole thing, and then grab all of those pretty flowers out of the fridge, peel them off the parchment paper, and just pop them anywhere that you like. I've got a pink one up in one corner, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a cluster of flowers at the top of the big section. Feel free to make some little buds if you like and smaller flowers. You can decorate it any way that you guys like. And then I have taken some brown sugar because we all love brown sugar. And I've got some cookies that are crushed up. I just bought some store-bought, but this recipe actually left enough and I made about 9 or 10 sugar cookies. So you could go ahead and use the rest of this batch of dough and actually make your own cookies and crumble them up. But we ate them, so I just went ahead and used half a packet of store-bought cookies with half a cup of brown sugar. The smell in the kitchen was so amazing, creating all of this sort of sand and desert effect around. And I think it just really finished off the cake and made it super cute and even more yummy. I did have some of the crumbs. I have to admit, it was pretty tasty. And then you have a totally different take on the whole cookie cake. I love all of the initials and letters and drips and all the chocolates that I'm seeing around. It's such a cool idea. But I really wanted to take this in a totally different direction and sort of cake style it a little bit. And hopefully you guys really get a kick out of making a cactus cookie cake.